Welcome, Kingdom Soldiers. Thank you for tuning in, checking out this channel. I'm your host Enrique, along with my great friend Deshaun, who was about to introduce himself, and I cut him off. But by all means,
Good afternoon, or it's not afternoon. Who knows what time you're watching this? How you guys doing? It's good to see you. Glad you decided to join us today.
so this morning we're gonna be talking about a topic that I really enjoy, and there's a lot of conversation, a lot of men talk about this and say like, "Well, is it necessary? Should we do this? Should we not do this? Like, what's the problem if we don't? I don't have an issue with it, or a lot of back and forth with it." So
Yeah.
the question I want to bring up is, should believers attend church service?
Short answer: yes. You have to. I believe as we do this walk, we have to be in community with other people of God. I think it's very easy, no matter how much of a for lack of a better word, hardcore Christian you are. You got as you're in this world, you have to surround yourself with a couple of other godly people. Men, you need godly men around you. Women, you need to have some godly women around you, and opposite gender as well. But you absolutely need
With
some
opposite
sort
gender,
of quote
leave
unquote
space
church.
for Jesus.
Of course.
Should I throw it in there?
Yeah, you got to have
Okay,
some sort of regularity to it too.
yeah,
You
I,
know.
I want to I want to jump in, but before I throw my 2 cents, I kind of want to add a follow on to that question, because you said we should. So, what would you say to that believer that would say, "Well, I don't need to go to church to feel connected to God." How do you respond to that in a way that makes like, hey, let's encourage them to come to church?
Uh, you do not need to go to a church to have a connection with God. In fact, some people think that going to church is they're have this illusion or delusion, I should say, in their mind that going to church is their relationship with God. You need a personal relationship with prayer, and you need to be talking to Him. But and it doesn't matter how much of an introvert or an extrovert you are, you need to have at least, I would say, at least two or three other godly people that you're meeting with on a regular basis, to just go over the word and come alongside you in the walk. And if you have that in some personal friends, that's awesome. That is awesome. But you're most likely to find that in a church setting. Bible studies are great, but you are most likely to find that community and find those people in, uh, like I said, a church setting.
Yeah. So there's not much room for dialogue here, bro. You're like taking up all the answers.
Emma,
Just-
you always have stuff.
but yeah, I've had this happen. First off, I would like to say, if someone, and this is from experience, not I'm saying this is 100% all the time. But when someone tells me that, hey, I don't need to go to church to feel connected to God, it makes me feel that, what, maybe they don't really follow Christ,
Mm,
and they were doing it for going to church for maybe a significant other, or someone was forcing it, or alternative reasons. And when they tell you, I don't need to go to church to feel connected to God, it's more of a scapegoat, or something to say that, just like, hey, leave me alone.
no,
I'm I don't want any part of you. That's just my experience.
no.
But if someone is truly a believer and they feel that they don't need to go to church to feel connected to God, like you said, yes, they're right. But just church aspect, right? An assembly
Yeah,
of men and women of God has so much benefits for us as believers that why wouldn't we want to?
yeah. Why
Why
wouldn't we want
wouldn't we
to?
want to attend a church service
Yeah,
and be part of fellowship, be part of congregation, be part of accountability, just be part of everything that helps us grow as men and women.
yeah. I feel like going to church helps us practice a lot of different types of interpersonal relationships, and I feel like it is a very good opportunity to meet new people. And even if you're really not into that, even if you are a very introverted people, I don't think that really has much to do with it. There's just something about being there in the presence of God with other people that um has an impact on you. That I believe God uses those moments as much as he uses your personal Bible time. And he uses moments when people are coming together to really move and do some powerful stuff.
Yeah. Is there a difference between attending a church that's, let's just say, a small home church about 10 or so people, or a big church of 100 plus people? Is there a difference in attending?
I couldn't imagine that really that there would be. I've heard of churches that are as small as 30 people. I've heard, particularly down in the South, there's a lot of very small churches, and there's those are all throughout the country. And then there are big churches, the churches that we all know. Um, and again, for me, it always comes back to having your people. Not saying I only go and I only talk to these people, but having these people that I know that I can walk up to on a good day or bad day and go like, "Hey, can you pray for me? Can you pray with me?" That's what's most important, is having some people that you can go to when you walk into that church, or even better, that you can text or call. That's like, "Hey, celebrate this victory with me," or "Pray with me," or something like that. But
Yeah, in every
uh,
season,
yeah. So it
let's.
doesn't matter how big or small the church is. People talk about big churches like they're doing the work, and if God's there, then who are we? Who are we to knock it? We don't know what's going on there. Um, but yeah, big churches, it's amazing. Small churches, it's amazing.
Amazing.
The Bible says when two or three are gathered in His name, He doesn't say, but there's a limit. You need to stop at 1,000. you know,
Yeah. Which
what do
are,
you?
what do I think? I have a preference. Which
Yeah,
which
everybody.
which is your preference? Would you prefer a small church or a big church?
I've been to both.
Yeah.
I've been to my church was big. It was very big. Pandemic happened, it got small, and then now it's growing back again. And I've had relationships. I've had people come and go. Um, I love going and meeting new people and talking to people and all of that. But I also have people, like I said, that I can text, that I can call.
Yeah.
Um, honestly, if I had a preference, though, you asked the preference, I'm gonna choose like a mid-sized
A
church.
mid-sized
You know
church.
what I mean? I'd have to go mid. I've never really been to a big church. Um, and I haven't been to a particularly
Yeah.
small church. Both of the churches that I've been
Yeah.
to have been
Really,
pretty
I
average.
would consider your church like big church. Isn't it like
Now it's
mega
big
mega like
for
mega?
not mega. No,
Ah,
it's not
dang.
mega.
Yeah.
What's the one guy from Joel Osteen? I've seen that church before.
Yeah.
That's a big church.
Okay. Yeah.
For this area and for our city, definitely our church is the
Probably one
church
of the
I'm going.
biggest.
Yeah, is probably the biggest. But I know even some in Thousand Oaks, and as you get a little bit further south, that are pretty big. Um, but I know there's a lot of community churches, particularly here in Oxnard. I know some have popped up over the years in
Yeah.
Ventura, and I've checked out some of them. Been to some of their YA, and it's just like stuff's pretty cool.
I don't think I can go to YA no more, man. I would like to, but
Become a leader. If you become a leader, you'll be
yeah.
able to do it.
Yeah. My
Uh,
preference. I prefer small churches, small, tight knitted churches. Actually, in all honesty, it doesn't it doesn't matter, right? As long as they're not gonna build your relationship of Christ with you. You have to do that on yourself, right? So
absolutely, yeah,
where that's kind of I'm not trying to say like, hey, whatever church you go to, like, hey, they'll feed you the best or they'll teach. That's all on you. That's all on you as a believer to equip yourself.
yeah.
But my preference is I would say small church, very tightly knitted because of all the reasons you gave, right? Accountability, fellowship, right? Those are like, hey, it's good and better. It's good because everyone's there for you.
And it gives you an opportunity to meet. more people and find those people that are going to be
Yeah.
in your circle. That's what I think. Yeah.
So I for that reason alone, for the accountability aspect, I think I like the a small church
Hmm.
better, because in a big church, I feel like you can go on in and you could just fall through the cracks as as a number. You know, you could attend and go worship, listen to the service, maybe say hi to one or two people, walk out, come back next Sunday, do it all over again, week after week, month after month, year after year, maybe. And hey, there's you know there's there's no who knows? People don't know how you're doing, how you're really living,
Hmm.
because well, you were able to fall through the cracks. You attend to a small church, hey, all eyes on a new guy, and you're not gonna be able to do that. And I'm not putting down a big church, or
Hmm.
I was just stating preferences, and I guess not going into pros and cons
Yeah.
of
I absolutely understand what you mean, and I have heard that before about larger churches. Um, that's why I keep going back to the community thing, having
yeah,
people that are going to hold you accountable. And I know that that takes time, and you might not get a
takes time to
call
build.
from somebody after the first time you've been to church and then you miss. So I understand that is a thing for big churches. So and it's easy for me to say, "Oh, you gotta go in and meet people," because I would consider myself more of an extrovert. But for somebody who's an introvert, they might get hurt if nobody came up and talked to them after they've been there a couple of times. I can understand that, and I've heard
Yeah.
that testimony before.
Well,
Um,
I'm sure I've shared with you, but I'll share again. When I used to go to young adults, and I'm a very extrovert person,
yeah,
and I'm out there, and I went once. Oh, I liked it, right? Great message. Talk to say hi to a few people, but that was it. I'm like looking around, at the end. Okay, cool. I'll go home. I'll come back next week. Come back next week, shake some hands, da da da.
mhm,
Even offer to help put things away,
yeah,
but still, I didn't connect any genuine conversations. It wasn't until a retreat, that hey, then I built those relationships. But me as an extrovert, that's like very outgoing and out there, trying to
yeah.
throw myself out there to make conversations, but wasn't given the time that could, yes, that
That
could
can deter
really
people. Yeah,
deter, especially talking about introverts. Definitely a lot more than
yeah. My pastor's brought up a lot over the years. He'll use the customer service reference, and people are kind of expecting to a degree the same thing from a church that you'll be expecting when you walk into any business establishment. At least a greeting or something like that, and to be acknowledged, especially if you've been there a few times and it's like, oh, this is somebody that I've seen. He's always at the front. You would expect that, and I think that's what we go for. There have been times I'm a youth leader, and there have been times where I go around and I've talked to people before. It's like, oh, I'm not familiar with you. And then like, oh yeah, we met 2 weeks ago, and then I feel, but I've forgotten, and it's just
yeah.
so. You tell people, we can't have a spirit of offense, but I don't understand that, but I would try to be intentional that times, like, all right, this
You're
person's
right, and
come back, and yeah,
I'm going through that myself right now. My family, we recently transitioned to a new church,
yeah,
and yes, I've met certain people. I've met certain people again and again, and they're like, "Oh, welcome. Hey, this is your first time. Come,
yeah,
glad you're here." And I'm like, "Yeah." I don't say out loud, "Yeah, I've been here," but like, "Hey, I appreciate it."
yeah,
But if I want to be prideful, if I want to take offense, yes, that's very easy to take
yeah,
offense to,
of course.
because, like, come on, man, do you not remember me? Like, it's me. We're all our
We
main
talked
characters.
about
We're all
this.
our main
Yeah,
characters, right?
you're the
Like,
main character of your own story.
so,
But I would
but
encourage people to, if you really like a church, and if you liked it the first time, to go back. Maybe God is bringing you back for a reason, and He will bring people alongside you that are going to be able to walk. Come alongside you as you do this journey and come down this new church, and just keep giving it a shot. If you really feel like this is what I like this, but they don't remember me.
yeah.
Just I would say keep
It's not all
trying.
about you. It's not.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What that means?
I mean, everything's about wording now.
Yeah, I
So you can word it in a
So
nicer
I
way.
want to move on to a different question. This is a very controversial question. I believe it is. At least I think a lot of people would give a lot of different answers and explanations to this question. Do you believe believers should go to church every Sunday?
Um, for the most part, I'd say yes. Unless you have a legitimate reason not to be there, all these questions keep going back kind of to the same thing, but
Yeah.
community is important.
Yeah.
So if you're
Okay.
part of a club
So
or something you're interested in,
so
you
so
should.
let me reword it a little bit then, because yes, is it wrong or sinful for a person to not attend church on Sundays every Sunday? And I'm not talking about like people that are going on vacation, or
Yeah.
people that, yeah, like a vacation, once a year or something, or twice a year, or camping with the kids, or you know um things come up, illness, sickness, or I'm talking about like, hey, it's just woke up on a Sunday, just not going today, maybe next Sunday, you know
I think you have to
woke up
ask
on.
yourself, why do you not want to go to church? Did you experience something? Because every time I walk into the church, I'm thinking, I number one, God has me here for a reason, whether it be to receive a word, to get a reminder of something that He said, or to have an interaction. So I believe that God is very intentional about everything that He does. So you gotta ask yourself in the morning, why am I considering not going to church? I've heard people who wake up or who said, as for me and my house, we're going to go and we're going to church and we're going to serve this or that. You have to look at why you wouldn't. What's the reason why you wouldn't want to go? Is when have you ever walked in and then walked out and been like, I wish I hadn't done that. That was a bad
Yeah.
idea and a waste of my Sunday morning. Why
So
wouldn't you
so
go?
I agree with what you're saying. Like I've never, really gone like, oh man, like this was a waste of time. Like
It's bad.
why? Yeah, right. Unless you're in the flesh and you're in yourself, and but yes, if you're there to receive, of course, there's never once that I'm like, oh, this was a waste of time. This is stupid. But again, back to is it wrong for them not to attend church if they don't want to? Again,
No.
there's no right or wrong answer. I'm not. I'm not. I don't want to put you on the
I'll say
spot.
this. It's not, but it's not an action that's going to bring you closer to Jesus.
Amen. Yeah, you're right. And I would say the same thing, right? If you wake up Sunday and you say, hey, I don't want to go to church tomorrow, and okay, right? Who am I to convince you? Who am I to tell you should or shouldn't? But again, if you want to go closer with Christ, you need to surround yourself with godly men and women.
Yeah.
And if you're already doing that on Saturdays and Fridays and Tuesdays or Thursdays, all these different Bibles, all these different gatherings, I personally don't see a problem with it. I don't think I would do it, but I don't think I can uh, be judgmental of someone. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't see anything wrong with. It's not. I don't want to say I don't see anything wrong with believers attending church once or twice a month, or. But again, it goes on. It's on the individual growth, right? I mean,
Yeah.
It's not a sin to not go.
Mm-hmm.
It's not wrong to not go, but as you said, like it's not beneficial either.
Yeah. I mean, unless you're trying to rest up or something, there has to be a legit reason. I feel like why you just, why could we shouldn't just be calling out to work. People do, but it's like you kind of do that, and you make all these other things mandatory.
Yeah, it kind of goes to like which master are you serving? Because yeah, right. Not that the church is your master. No, Jesus is our master.
Yeah.
But we come together to worship Him.
I mean, why would you not? I mean, I think you have to go into it with the mindset then of why would I not?
Yeah.
Why would I not worship the Lord and Savior who wakes me up every day, who died for my sins and did all of that stuff? I can get up if you have a family, get my family up and be like, hey, we're gonna go to church. And do you always feel like? And that's another thing. We judge this by how we're feeling, when we know very well that this Christian thing is not about how we're feeling. I don't feel like going to church today. Well, Jesus didn't, I don't think necessarily feel like dying on the cross.
No.
He said, take this burden away from me.
Yeah.
So that's another thing about feelings. It's like, this isn't we're gonna feel it out. We're gonna see how you feel in the morning. Like, no, God has something for us there. And I lean more toward, now that I think about it, like, unless you have a legit reason not to, unless you're legitimately resting or something like that. If it's just like, I don't know, like, no, you should go.
I'm more on the cautious of saying, like, hey, it's not a necessity, requirement. Meaning, hey, like, become like legalistic in a sense. Like,
Yeah.
no, you have to go. You have to
No,
do this.
you can't
have
do
to
that.
It's a part of the work, right? It's part of your salvation that you have to. It's not. Right? I just don't want to like be coming from that sense or feel like. But I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
But again, it's not wrong.
And that's what a lot of stuff comes down to, though. We gotta be very careful. Like,
Yes.
That's not wrong, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it. But God's like, come on.
It comes down to your conviction, and if you're not convicted about, if you're one of those people that only goes to church once or twice a month and you're not convicted about that, I would encourage you to get with some other brothers and maybe you can.
Yeah. And if you're only going to church, another way to think about it, if you're only going to church once or twice a month, you're only getting fed once or twice. Because how many people are legitimately, okay, we're not going to church today, but we're going to watch online. Yeah. You know, how many, I don't know how many people are actually attend about that.
Online, I don't like the online stuff.
See? So some people are like, well, I'll just watch it later. And then it becomes later on in the week. And I know that if I don't go to church, I can be honest. And no matter how much I love my church and love elevation or transformation or something like that, I don't know how intentional I'm going to be to set aside time, especially after work, especially after a long day of working. I'm going to be about setting aside that time to watch church.
Yeah.
So if you could get there, get there.
I want to end with this. We'll cut this one short, but what would you say to those believers that don't go to church, don't attend church because they've been hurt by the church, or more specifically, people in the church?
Yeah, and that's often what it is. Because what does it mean to be hurt by the church? We could break down what the church means right now. It's like, well, what does it mean to be hurt by the church? The entire church came up against you, but to be hurt by somebody in the church. And usually, I think that what that means, what's often what they. When I think about the picture that you're painting, it's somebody from leadership in the hurt you. The pastor said something that you didn't agree with, or somebody that is a leader in the church said something that you didn't agree with, or came at you in a cross way, or something like that.
Yeah. Like the other day, I was at checking out this church in LA, and they're like, "Hey, Holmes, we don't take our pants at this church." And I was like, I got offended. No, I'm just kidding. That didn't happen.
But there are some churches where that might, you know what I mean? I know different churches, just sometimes for different people, you know what I mean? I think you have to be careful about not taking on a spirit of offense. And if you know that a church is rooted in the Bible, rooted in the Word, I think you have to look at where people are coming from. Which do we often do? No, we only take it from our perception. But I mean, because you can legit be hurt by the church. People do that, and sometimes, unfortunately, that's part of their story and where God maybe wants to move them somewhere else. But you have to look at yourself, and is this something that I can use for correction, or what's the best way to handle this, or growth? Dealing with conflict. We have to deal with conflict in the church. If you go to a church with a bunch of people, you're gonna at some point have some issue with them. Yeah. I would say at some point, but how do you deal with that in a godly and a mature Christian way?
One question that I would ask them, and this is something me and my wife talked about, right? Is we were talking the other day. Says, well, why do you, in terms of being hurt by the church? Well, why are you there, or why are people there? Right? Because we're all hypocrites. We're all. Sorry, are you not?
Oh no, I am. For every finger pointing at somebody else, there's three pointing right back at me.
Right, and so and this is like sad, but it's true. Some people are there to worship Jesus, right? Just full on ball out, like, hey, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Some people are there for checking a box believers.
Yeah.
It's part of my Sunday routine. And some people are there because they're there to judge others. They're there to be Pharisees. And maybe we've all been, you can be this person, one of these three all at once. Or, but that production thing was wrong. I hate how they said that. The music was too loud.
Mm-hmm.
The usher was rude.
Yeah.
Whatever the case may be, this person didn't say hi. That wasn't addressed, or whatever the case may be, right? Modern time Pharisees. Right? The question would be, if you got hurt by the church, well, why are you with the church? Are you there to worship Jesus? Or are you there for some other reason?
Yeah, and like, what is God showing you in this in this experience?
Well, it'll show you how rooted you are in Christ.
Yeah.
I'm not taking light of someone that's left the church because they've been hurt, but it's more of a, hey, how can we repair that?
Yeah.
How can we get you back to that church, just the church of the bride of Christ? How can we get you back to be part of the bride of Christ?
Because Christ is about, of all things, of reconciliation, right? He died so that we can have reconciliation with God. That's dealing with people and their feelings. It's tough. It really is tough. But I think that's an opportunity for you, when you have been legitimately hurt by the church, to look at it and learn how to take measured steps to address what you've experienced, and tune in to what God is saying to you, and decide, God, is this still my home, or do you have something for me elsewhere? Is this my time? So I'm not going to say you should do whatever it takes to stay with the church because that's where He has you. That's not how it works. So I've seen Him take people from my church and do some amazing things with them in different other different churches, and because their season at my church was up.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say you should never leave the church, but I think it takes a real inward reflection and some real time with God, and see where He's really guiding you.
Man, yeah. Deshaun, you're bringing fire, bro. Like, I want to encourage you, if you don't have a home church, to look for one. I'm personally against online, but if that's where you want to start, it's a start, definitely. Yeah. But be plugged in, be in community, be in fellowship. Be vulnerable to hold yourself under accountability to say, like, hey, I need help. I'm struggling. And, and I need guidance. I need counsel.
Mm-hmm.
That's found in a group men and women of God that can help you.
I would say the same thing. I know people that have joined churches, e-groups, and gotten involved with people from all over the world in certain large church e-groups and things like that, and it's awesome. But you gotta have some people in your physical presence that you can meet with on a regular basis, even if it's just a Bible study, something like that. I would encourage you to find a local church, but find at least a few people that can come together, a few men and women of God.
And it doesn't have to be on a Sunday. It could be any day of the week.
Church does not have to be on Sunday.
Exactly. All right. Love you guys. God bless. Take care.
We'll see.